This month we've added status effects, critical hits, AoE attacks, and a full stamina system, as well as the start of a great combo-based technique system. Combat just got a whole lot deeper. Let's break it all down. Hey everyone, welcome back to this May devlog. If you're new here, we're building a narrative-driven action RPG with modular systems and responsive combat at its core. This is a long-term project made by a small team aiming to blend fast-paced gameplay with deep strategic layers. Each month we post updates on what's been built, tested or designed, and this month's been all about pushing our combat mechanics, visual feedback and some early UI and audio groundwork. Alright, let's start with the combat. We've expanded the core combat system by implementing some ranged weapons. These things like bows and guns will use projectiles and they track the enemy, so when you fire it will turn you to face the enemy and shoot. They might apply status effects and scale with various weapon attributes. We've also added AoE attacks, whether that be magic or like some grenade launchers or big cannons. They allow abilities or weapons to hit multiple enemies based on both their proximity, the hit radius, and we're looking at directional cones, but we've not quite decided on that. These attacks still respect line of sight and they apply to stagger like everything else. We've also introduced a critical hit system, so every weapon now has a chance to cause a critical hit, which is influenced by the weapon itself and possibly can be affected by technique chaining. We're working on that and still having a little think. Critical bonuses apply additional effects like increasing the stagger chance or triggering status effects if it's just timed right. And on top of that, we've also added a full-on stagger system. So if you take enough damage, at the moment it works on the enemy. So bigger enemies require, well, both more but a lesser percentage of their overall health. They can be staggered. So you deal a certain amount of damage, you critical them, enemy gets staggered. Now you get an opening to attack without them being able to respond. It adds a lot more weight and makes the combat and criticals feel more meaningful, in our opinion. Moving on to the next status effects, we've got 3 main states so far: frozen, poison, and burning. These are all 3 damage over time effects, and they're applied by various weapons. Later on, we are looking at making these effects apply additional things. For instance, frozen might freeze you in place, so you can't move. Burning might be able to spread to other people, but we've not quite got that far yet. These status effects will show up on enemies with some temporary visuals, and they're all timed and will run out after a certain length, but if you add another effect, it will restart that timer. And we've also added some visual effects and damage indicators, so whenever you hit an enemy, you should get a VFX pop up to show the damage and a little damage indicator that shows you exactly how much, and the color will change based on whether it's a critical hit or a normal hit, or if the enemy is actually resistant to the type of attack you are making. Moving on to our techniques, we've also starting to look at some techniques and abilities, a bit more like some of the big RPGs. They'll be quite fancy and we're not quite sure how they're exactly going to work, but we do know that what will happen is when you enter a battle, you'll be able to trigger a technique by pressing a button, and then there will be a cooldown before you can use that again. The techniques are probably going to be affecting one member of the party, and it will just be a special move that they have. We've also we've got stamina integrated, so that will control how much you can phase attacks, how much you can attack with magic, and use other elemental and magic related abilities. And we're setting up an ultimate system, so the main character when you reach a certain point and have recharged your ultimate bar, then you will be able to use that to enter a overpowered state in order to attack enemies. Another system we're looking at is chains and combos with allies. Special abilities that are triggered in very, very specific circumstances. We're looking probably at when an enemy is staggered. If you manage to critical them again, you'll be able to start up a link or a chain of some kind. And this will be most likely a QTE, so nice and controlled and a place to do great damage against an enemy. The goal really is to make teamwork a big part of combat rather than just a button mashing RPG. You're going to actually need to make a little bit of strategy, but without it being overly complicated like a lot of these games make it. The goal is to make a system that is easy and intuitive to understand, but rewarding to advanced gameplay and noticing your environment and using all of the tools. So another thing we've done is we've added potions and some accessories. The potions are pretty much done. The accessories are still a work in progress, but potions are fairly straightforward, like in any other game. Usable item, and it gives you an effect. At the moment, we've got a potion to cure poison and a potion to revive you if you get killed so you don't lose, as well as some HP and mana regeneration potions and probably stamina as well. The components, though, we're looking at making things that boost your attack, your defense, your health, as well as things like your overall stamina, your magic power, and things like resistance and saves. They're just pretty straightforward, like you would expect in a game like D&D or pretty much any other RPG that we've played so far, and it's pretty straightforward. Outside of combat, we've made a lot of headway on the UI style direction. We've been experimenting with a look that's pretty clean and minimal, but we're still looking to reflect the game's tone, so a little bit of futuristic and fantasy mixed together. Nothing's quite final yet. This is subject to change, but we're getting closer to setting a base UI design that we can scale out over the next few months. And music development has also been moving ahead, so we've got early versions of some ambient and combat tracks, and we're in the process of shaping the audio identity that this game will have. It's a big part of what we're aiming to do. Audio is huge for RPGs, as many have shown, most notably things like Final Fantasy and Persona. So we're looking to give this the attention it duly deserves. And finally, we have got a logo somewhat designed. It's not set in stone, but it's looking fairly positive that this is what we'll be using going forward. It's kind of got the aesthetic that we were looking for, which is very simplistic, so that everyone can remember it easily, probably even draw it, as well as kind of reflecting the game's feel and focus, if you like. You can check it out in our community posts and also give us any suggestions you have on that topic. And that's pretty much everything for May. If you made it this far, thank you for following along. We're still deep in the development trenches. There's a lot still to be done, and it's a long-term project, so just watching this and sharing it with others gives us a lot of motivation to stay on track. So if you just want to press that like button, it shows us that you support what we're doing. And join our Discord community if you feel like it. It's where we post updates first and chat with anyone who's interested. You can make suggestions really easily there. Now, next month's devlog will cover whatever's next. This month is pretty busy for a lot of us on the team in real life, so there may not be that much going on, but we'll update you at the end of June, beginning of July. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.